Grateful for your time here on Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. Further together, I'm Blessed Sogah, and now it is confirmed that founder of defunct Capital Bank, William Ato Essien, is just waking up to that sad reality that he will be spending the next 15 years of his lifetime in jail. He was charged with offences ranging from stealing over 90 million cedis belonging to the bank and for various roles he played in the collapse of this very bank. He's also been linked to money laundering and pleaded guilty to all counts. Mr. Essien was supposed to have been sentenced in December 2023, but his judgment was held in abeyance following a settlement agreed which he brokered between himself and the state under Section 35 of the Courts Act. Under this agreement, Mr. Essien was supposed to have paid up to the state some 90 million cedis in 3 tranches, but he defaulted on the payment, giving the state no option but to file a motion for the sentence, which landed him now in jail. Mr. Essien paid 30 million cedis of that amount on December 1, 2022, and per the agreement as adopted by the court, he was ordered to pay the remaining 60 million Ghana cedis in 3 installments, with the first installment on or before April 28, 2023, the second on or before August 2023, and the last installment on or before December 15, 2023. Well, the presiding judge, Justice Eric Che Parfor, in handing him this very sentence, said Mr. Essien had paid only 37 million cedis of the total 90 million cedis. So why is he still being jailed? Let's get more from Richard Kojinyako, who was in court all throughout the day. Joins me in studio now with more. Richard, that's the sad reality of Mr. Essien, but we know that he'll be spending 15 years in jail. Let's first off give a background to the case to our listeners.
So we know the collapse of the Capital Bank, and he was supposed to be sentenced. The judgment was ready in December 2022, but that judgment had to be suspended because all throughout the trial, Mr. Essien had pleaded not guilty to all the count, to all the charges. And so on the very day that judgment was supposed to be given by the judge, he pleaded guilty to all the counts. And so he went under Section 35 of the Court Act that had some agreement reached between himself and the state. And the agreement, he was supposed to pay some amount, and then the rest will be spread throughout the period. And so he was supposed to pay 30 million Ghana cedis, and then in April he was supposed to pay 20 million Ghana cedis. On the 31st of August he was supposed to pay 20 million Ghana cedis, and the final payment was supposed to be done in December, but he defaulted in the April payment. He also defaulted in the August payment. And so when we went to court today, the lawyers pleaded for more time. They indicated that if more time is given to Mr. Essien, he has a lot of property around, and since his license was revoked, he's been jobless, he's not been able to travel, his passport has also been seized. And so if given more time, he's demonstrated some utmost good faith, because when the matter came, he readily paid 37 million out of the total of 90 million Ghana cedis. So if given time, such a person will be able to pay, but it gave the state no option. The state said, well, we gave you that opportunity to make yourself or to come clean. And so if you're unable to pay that amount of money, then we have no option than to file a motion. And so the motion for the sentence to be handed him was moved today, but that motion was opposed by lawyers for Mr. Essien. So they raised 2 grounds. The first one was that the man should be given more time because he's demonstrated utmost goodwill. The other one was that he's a family member, he's a family man, he's married with kids and all of that, and the fact that he's demonstrated that he will pay, and there are some property of his that are around for him to even pay. The court should give him that time.
And he speaks of this property right in Accra, which could help to defray a significant portion of that
Exactly.
debt.
So he mentioned a property in Pram Pram that is valued at $10 million, and what is left for him to pay is 53 million Ghana cedis. And so if you look at $10 million, he would be able to pay with that kind of amount, and some of them will be left. But the judge said that there has been back and forth, because from the July 27, when the court went on recess, the court also went on vacation for 2 months, and there was an indication the court was expecting that when they resume by today, when they went to court, Mr. Essien would have come to court and say that, well, I found the money, I've gotten the money, and so I'm coming to pay.
So basically, he did not see this coming.
Yes, he came in the company of a very fair-colored, beautiful woman seated by him, and so we suspected that was the wife. So it might come as a surprise, because you wouldn't come this far, and then today you came to court and you expected that you spend the next 15 years in jail.
And we know that there are obviously some mitigating measures that we could possibly be exploring, but many have been, shocked by this latest judgment coming through from the court, precisely knowing that a lifeline indeed was handed over to Mr. Ato Essien, who was then founder of the now defunct Capital Bank. We'll be talking about those mitigating measures shortly, plus further action in court today. But I want to hear from Dr. John Baden, who's a private legal practitioner, joining us over the telephone lines now. Dr. Baden, thank you for spending some time with us here on Top Story. So it's a done deal, you say? Pay up 90 million, walk a free man. He's only been able to raise 37 million Ghana cedis. You feel there's another legal opening for this gentleman, Mr. Ato Essien?
Well, that is for his lawyers to really make that determination. But it is just an agreement that has just gone. Do you hear me?
I'm with you, sir.
Yes, I'm saying that it's an agreement that he has reneged upon. That is why he's facing this sanction. I mean, seriously, the thing is, it looks like the view of the law is that he has caused financial loss to the state, and the state was trying to recover the money. And it looks like they are coming up with one excuse after the other, and maybe the state cannot wait anymore. So he gets the sanction.
Also joining us tonight is private legal practitioner Kweku Pencil. Mr. Pencil, you're equally surprised as well that this gentleman was handed a lifeline. He failed to, meet up the payment timelines. But strictly speaking, did you expect that this will get to this point where a jail sentence will come to bear?
Yeah, it's not surprising at all, and it's got nothing to do with his abilities or capability to pay the judgment sum that he was asked to pay. But let me put it this way: at the point that you go into a plea bargain itself starts with an acknowledgement of an admission of guilt. So every time that a matter goes to court, there are two things. I'm talking about criminal action. First is the conviction. Second is the sentencing. So that any time that a party pleads guilty to a matter and he is convicted, he is at the mercy of the court in terms of sentencing. And when it comes to sentencing, depending on the nature of the offense, the punishment is prescribed by law, and will typically provide for an option of a fine or imprisonment or to both. In almost all cases, only the term would depend on whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, and so forth and so on. So at the point that you pleaded guilty as part of the plea bargain, in other words, at the time that you admitted that you're going on that route, you stand convicted before the court. The rest is the order that the judge made arising upon the terms upon which the parties negotiated or upon which the court gave its consent for the matter to be settled on those terms. In other words, in his case, he was required to pay or remit or pay back to the state a certain sum of money, which I've not really concerned myself with. And therefore, once you default, you go back to where you stood before the court, which is the conviction. The rest is for the judge to sentence. So when the judge sentenced, he was doing what the law required him to do. And obviously, he used his discretion in the circumstances to sentence him to the number of years that the judge felt appropriate. And when it comes to sentencing, obviously, like I've told you, it's a range, and the judge has a discretion to exercise. And once it exercises it, it will hardly be questioned even on appeal, unless you're able to demonstrate that he went beyond bounds. So, to answer your question, the conviction that came as a result of his non-compliance or failure to pay the money that the court ordered that he should pay is not surprising. It's the natural consequences of his non-compliance.
And Richard Kujinyaku, who was in court for us, is still here with us. I want you to stay on with us, gentlemen. The point about the details of the sentencing, because there were two options available to this man, Mr. Ato Essien, either to pay up the 90 million Ghana cedis or to avoid being jailed once that settlement is done. But now it is emerging, Richard, that he would have to deal with the two at once.
Yeah, so in sentencing him, each count had a sentence. So from count 1 up to count 23. So we counted 1 up to 23. So count 1 was 2 years. So the judge explained that even one of the counts, the sentencing, should have been 25 years. But because of the plea and the fact that he was able to raise an amount of 37 million out of the 90 million, he made an effort. That is why the sentencing got reduced. So if you put all the sentences in totality, it was 95 years. But because he's serving it concurrently, so the highest of the sentencing was 15 years. And that is why he got 15 years.
And some monetary issues will also come up?
Yeah, exactly. So that was not really explained whether he will go in and then still pay up the remainder of the amount. So I guess the lawyers will explain.
And Dr. John Braden, it's the reason why many believe that this decision by the court probably could be reversed on appeal. What's your take on that?
Are you asking me?
Dr. John Braden?
Why I cannot see it being reversed on appeal. Because, like my colleague has said, this was a subsequent to an agreement, and if he just could not fulfill, his terms of the agreement, then he just deals with the rigors of the law. I can't see how this can be overturned. I cannot see.
Yeah, maybe if I can chip in. Once you have been, the plea of guilty. When you plead guilty, the judge has nothing more to do. And once you are convicted on a guilty plea, which is an essential element of the plea bargain, you stand convicted. So you can't appeal against conviction. There can be no ground whatsoever for appeal against conviction. And of course, the other thing is the sentencing, and because there's a discretionary element, obviously, the judge applied discretion, gave reasons for why he gave you in all a total or the maximum of 15. Because as he said, if there was one that he wanted 25, you could have given 25. And when you go before an appeal, the duty of an appeal court is not to substitute his views for that of the trial judge. And whenever discretion is entrusted to anybody to choose between A and B, if he chooses to do A and he doesn't do B, it does not amount to a dereliction or whatever. In other words, the duty to do A or B implies to do A or B, and that's the way it is. And once the discretion has been exercised in the manner that has been described, I will personally have great difficulty appreciating how a court of appeal would tamper with the judge's use of discretion, unless there's something else that I do not know. So that's the difficulty that Mr. Essien is going to find himself. He himself pleaded guilty, and he stands convicted on his own plea. And please don't forget that a court of appeal can exercise its discretion either way. In other words, if the court of appeal has sufficient reason to believe that the judge was unduly and unnecessarily lenient with him, they may increase it. And it has happened. We have records to that effect in our law reports. So anybody who decides to lodge an appeal must weigh that very carefully.
And I'm just looking at the case where you have the individual involved paying up some 37 million Ghana cedis out of the total of 90 million Ghana cedis. The point about retrieving the outstanding amount, is it beyond doable, knowing now that this embattled founder of the defunct Capital Bank is heading to jail?
No, you see, I don't know what I've understood you, but I see the mere fact that you've made a part payment is not good consideration, though for purpose of the sentencing, the judge relied on it. But let's put it this way. There is a provision, it's one of the decrees, I cannot quote it specifically, but the courts have power upon convicting anybody in cases where it involves public funds and so forth and so on, in addition to sentencing, or rather in addition to a term of imprisonment, to also impose an obligation or sentence the person to refund the whole amount by attaching the person's properties, or generally make an order empowering the state, for that matter the Attorney General, to go after the person to retrieve the full amount. But it's for the judge to make that specific order. I wouldn't know whether the judge exercised a discretion to apply the provision of that decree. I know that it exists on our record books. It was used in the Asibit case, Asibit Abugapele case. The judge made an order, convicted them, and also made an order directed to the Attorney General to retrieve the full amount from them.
And we might just be finding out if that was or is applicable in this very decree, or judgment, I should say, by the court today. Because we're fortunate to have lawyer Alfred Tuayobwa, who happens to be the Deputy Attorney General. He leads this case, and so we'll have a better appreciation of what the implications of this court decision is. Mr. Eboa, thank you for spending time with us here on Top Story. First of all, your reaction to the decision of the court, and is it your interpretation or perhaps your deduction that Mr. Ato Essien will be liable to paying up the rest of the amount to make up for the 90 million cedis?
Thank you very much, my brother. Yes, I think this matter last year, as the record will show, there was a decision by the court to adopt our agreement pursuant to Section 35. Now, we were expecting that the convict was going to go by the terms of the agreement. He reneged on that promise, and then we decided to activate our side of the bargain by applying to the court to have him sentenced into prison. Today, we went to court, and then the court did what it was supposed to do in accordance with law. Now, with regard to the outstanding sum, we were able to recover at least 37 million Ghana cedis from him. The outstanding sum of about 53 million Ghana cedis. There was the indication that Ato Essien may want to pay the outstanding sum. If he pays and he goes on appeal, that may go to the, maybe whether he may want the appeal to reduce if he pays. But the fact that he has not paid means that he's to state that amount of money. And that amount of money, the state will be within its right to pursue him for that money.
And is that something you plan to do?
We are looking at the options. And whatever that we arrive at, definitely you get to know it.
in all of this, of course, my personal impression that you were is that you were very much concerned about the funds itself. The funds which you deem crucial to raking in and clawing back what it is that belongs to the state. Now you have the gentleman at the center of this case heading to jail for the next 15 years. Which one was paramount to you at the time you were pursuing this case? Either making or clawing back the 90 million Ghana cedis, or perhaps just having him behind bars?
Originally, we were looking at the possibility of getting the money. That's why we agreed with him. But we also realized that he was not forthcoming with this side of the agreement. So the next concern we had was that then in that case, he must go to jail. If he had paid the 90 million, we would have avoided custodial sentence. So in terms of the prosecutions, we have been looking at getting convictions as well as recovering amount of money from people who will be convicted. So we're looking at both.
And we know that this is just part of a minute, decision that the government is taking on just a few individuals who have been found culpable of breaching regulations when it comes to the banking sector cleanup. I'm wondering if this is giving you some sort of motivation to go ahead and to go after other individuals cited in various reports about this banking sector breaches.
Yes, we are ready and willing to take on all those who were part of the scheme to have deposited funds lost. And there are cases in court now as we speak. There are other people who are also facing prosecution. Those whose case we have not taken to court should not be thinking that we've forgotten about them. No, it's a process. All the others, including savings and loans and microfinances, we'll get to all of them.
And so what will be the next, if you're willing to disclose that, by the way?
As I said already, we have some cases in court. Some of them are at the advanced stage, and we may want to go along with that. But we'll be adding more. And when we add more, definitely you get to know it. But I'm saying that all those who took part or who were owners of savings and loans and microfinances, who know that because of their actions and inactions, the state has had to cough up money to pay their depositors. We'll be coming after all of them.
I see, and we are indeed grateful that you're speaking to us. But beyond this, some are describing this as a feather in your cap. First of all to you, and then to your boss, Godfred Dami, who is or has been criticized over the years for not prosecuting successfully any case of corruption or corruption-related offences, criminal offences against persons who have, in one way or the other, done some infractions that dent or either bring a lot of untoward hardship to people. Do you see this as an indication that yes, indeed, you're committed to the cause, committed to the fight against corruption, and trying as much as possible to save state funds?
Yes, we are very much committed to fighting corruption. We are very much committed to fighting all manner of criminal activities. But if we take a matter to court, we are on the one side, the accused person is on that side. It is the court that will determine the pace at which some of these cases may be going. And an accused person has the right to appeal against every order made by the court. So it's not the case pending that have been pending for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. We are doing our part. But the accused person also utilizing the law to also defend their case. So we are committed to it. Despite all the blocks that we may have along the way, we are ready and willing to keep on prosecuting.
And we'll wait to see definitely will be following all of your activities in courts. Lawyer Alfred Tioyeboah, Deputy Attorney General, joining us now on Top Story. But it's been a packed day in court. Lots of activities happening. The OSP also taking some action on the Cecilia Dapa case. And you've been there monitoring all of this, Kojo.
Yeah, so when we went to court, the Office of the Special Prosecutor had filed a petition before the Chief Justice asking for the removal of Justice Chum to be removed from cases associated with the Office of the Special Prosecutor and himself. He says that the judge's comment and behavior, he does not see that they will get justice. But the lawyers for Madam Cecilia Dapa, they have been responding, saying that what the OSP is doing is mere repetition of the application. They insisted that the OSP is acting unethically, because if one files a petition before the Chief Justice, it doesn't warrant that the OSP himself will not come to court. And so by mere doing so and not giving them leads or notifying them that indeed this was what he was going to do, he was going to file a petition, and then the act complained of, even the judge did not even know what really they were complaining about. And so on that basis, they were worried.
And you can get the latest details of all of these activities in court today at myjoyonline.com. Wrapping up effectively. Top story here on Joy 99.7 FM. And it's a good time to tell you that Newsnight is next after these messages.
Ajwa, the online page for the new business account was in shambles yesterday. We lost the page.
Tell me about it.
We started off very confident, and then the office broadband went down. When we set up the hotspot from the phone to reconnect, the data allocation also got finished.
You are joking.
I wish. The meeting room was hot. Kobe quickly tried calling them to give us some more time, but he had no airtime. Total chaos. They also gave us feedback that our website didn't have enough information. How can you run a business this way and hope to grow?
Oh dear.
Your business communication can be way better than this. Vodafone One Business is a complete communications package that gives you broadband with data transfer to mobile phones, mobile package with free calls among employees, landline with free calls and website design plus domain name registration. At Vodafone Business, we understand that strong connections within your business lead to success. Call 050-777-9000 or sign up by sending an email to sme@vodafone.com. Vodafone, further together.
Ready? Let's go. We all go paint some savannah.
Everyone is dancing, everyone is singing, because everyone is painting with Savannah. Savannah paints from Azar are affordable enough for everybody to fulfill their paint needs. Paint more, pay less. Savannah paint, we all go paint some.
We all go paint some savannah. We all go paint some.
Go for gold and bet risk-free on the new season with Betway. Use the golden booking code found on the Betway site to bet on selected match week and get 100% back as a free bet on any losses. You always get more with Betway. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Get way more.
Coming up in the next 60 minutes, frustration and anger as hundreds of displaced residents pack out of their flooded homes, calling on government and non-governmental organizations to come to their aid.
Thousands houses have been stagnant, over thousands houses have been stagnant already, and the properties and then life is being threatened.
The safe haven too is over there around Kizito Secondary School. This morning we are told that place is not safe.
And we'll get you the very latest, but the Volta River Authority says it is focused on protecting lives and properties, even as it prepares to spill more water in the coming weeks. We'll take you live to the communities, but tonight we ask how much help can be enough to replace the thousands of losses counted by residents. It's the issue we'll be looking at later on. Patients at the Wa Municipal Hospital tonight are confused, helpless and battling for their lives following disconnection of power by VRA and NETCO.
My woman is delivered and the child is to be put in incubator. And now there is light off. We are not confused. We just don't know what to do. So many people are crying.
And that's the sad reality. Also, we're focusing on President Akufo-Addo, who is urging world leaders to commit to consolidating peace, warning recent coups in African countries could destabilize the world's democracy.
If we do not renew our commitments to build, keep, and consolidate peace and democracy all over the world, we would have to brace ourselves to live in a new and more dangerous world today and in the future.
We have more from the president, who's in the US and calling for improved management of the worsening economic and political indicators in the country.
The only thing that is saving us is the tolerance of Ghanaians.
You mean that Ghana is ripe for a coup d'etat?
I'm saying that it's more than ripe for a coup d'etat.
I am convinced that good governance can keep the soldiers in their barracks.
And there's more also from Dr. Nyaho Tamoklu, who's been sharing his ideas about how to avoid a coup d'etat in that sound you hear there, giving you a prelude of what's to come here on Newsnight. But the New Patriotic Party's election committee admits that there were challenges that characterized the superdelegates election, contributing to the reported instances of violence, but they've learnt lessons from these fallouts going forward.
If you look at it, generally speaking, there were some difficulties, and particularly including the complaints that some officials behaved as if they were conducting the election.
And that's the former Speaker of Parliament who's chairing this NPP's elections committee, speaking exclusively to Joy News, which we're bringing to you. There's also more as the committee is reiterating its commitment to ensuring a fair and transparent elections within the NPP for its November Congress. We also have business.
In business, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund pleads with the G20 Common Framework for debt treatments to expedite action on various debt requests to pave way for their restructuring.
And in sports, the Accra High Court upholds the Ghana Football Association's elections as it throws out King Faisal's injunction application. We'll bring you details.
And Razak will be with you on the radio in the next 30 minutes. We've also got the 2023 National Science and Maths Quiz on St. Thomas Aquinas SHS. Turning spectators as St. James Seminary and Our Lady of Mount Carmel SHS slugging it out in a tiebreaker to qualify for the quarterfinal stage of the National Science and Maths Quiz. And the excitement is indeed on. We bring you an update on the current contest between Prempeh College, TI Amas, and Navrongo SHS. My name is Blessed Sogah. Thanks for joining us here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM affiliates across the country. And tonight, residents of Mepe, Bakpa, Sogakope and adjoining communities are expressing frustration over the continuous takeover of homes there by flooding. Thousands have already abandoned their homes, seeking refuge on the streets, school buildings and churches, while others live in fear, not knowing when they will also be caught up. Just 4 days ago, into the spillage to islands, that's within the Siamakome areas, have all been submerged to the roof of their buildings. The situation has also led to the temporary closure of the Kumboni Technical Vocational Institute in Sogakope and many basic schools across the affected districts. We'll hear from the residents who are calling on government to come to their aid, but let's get a better understanding of the number of districts affected by the spillage in the last few days. Saji Amedanu is the Deputy Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization.
It is quite serious in North Town more than Central Town and South Town, even though I would say all three situations are critical. But I think North Town, because of the numbers involved and the number of communities involved, that's why I would say North Town is much more critical, because we have 4. Actually, it is not 3 districts that are involved. Actually, we have 9 districts involved.
Okay.
4 districts in the Volta region. That is all the towns and Anglong. All the towns and Anglong. That's 4. Then we have 3 districts in the eastern region. Then we have 3 districts in Greater Accra and 2 districts in eastern region. Now, where situations have started unfolding is the towns are the West East. Shai-Osudoku also have some incidents. A lot of places are flooded, but it is not as serious as the towns. So we are moving into Shai-Osudoku with some items possibly tomorrow.
And now listen to some of the residents of Mepe Bakpa and Sogah Kopa who have been expressing their frustration to my colleague Ivy Setoji earlier.
As I'm talking right now, the room where my things are rented and my things are, the whole thing is full. It's a mess. I don't have anything. This address I'm wearing from a friend. We're asking the government to help us. The vice president to come to our aid. The president, the minister, the voter regional minister. I know he is aware that we are going through all this. To come and help us. We are suffering. Children are suffering. And for school going children to go to school. Don't even talk about it. Those parents who go to the school, the water is there. So we are now moving here. We are thinking of going to Sege. Right now, I don't have any money. No lights. My phone is off. I can't even call friends to send me money so that I will convey them. Because for me, everything of mine is immersed in the water. We can't even go to the roof. The water is at the top of the roof. So we are asking again that the government, the NGOs, the UN, even if they are watching us, to come to the aid of North Tongue. We are dying. We are in Ghana, but we are not part of this country. We are begging that you come to our aid. We are suffering. We are suffering that you come to our aid. Children are suffering. Children are suffering. Thank you.
1,000 houses have been stagnant. Over 1,000 houses have been stagnant already, and the properties and then life is being threatened. So we are calling on the national. The government should come to our aid. This is the time the people of Mepa, especially the people at the lower Volta basin, are waiting them. They should come to our aid. National NADMON, they should come. This is the time, because we need you can see the weather is threatening. The people, they need tents. They need tents, a temporary tent to stay in. They need mattresses, the food stuffs, mosquito coils, mosquito nets, and all that. All those things are being needed now before food starts. At least this whatever that can help us, any relief items at all is welcome. This is the situation. You can see that it's not the best. This is not the method we stayed in. Since it's in the 1963 that it happens. Yeah, exactly 60 years today.
And that's been the extent of effect within the community, residents saying they've not seen this in a very long time. Let's get more from Ivy Setoji, our Volta regional correspondent, who's there within the community, who's bringing us updates. Now, Ivy, we know that you've been to a few communities today. Describe to us what the situation is.
Well, good evening. The situation, I must say, is very terrible. We saw residents bringing out their mattresses, their chairs, everything, every property they have from their rooms. Some even packed it at the chief's residency, some community centers, and then some were trying to transport it to the higher ground. Some were also in the canoe trying to salvage what was left. Most of the houses are submerged into the water. That is in Masi, Afeime, Bakta area, and those even in Sogah Kopa, for example, students of Komboni Technical Institute have been asked to go home for the meantime because the school is flooded. So the situation is actually terrible, and the residents are asking the government does something about the situation. The DC for the area, Divine, Osborne, Senu said they were trying to distribute some food, that's hot kenke rice, and other maybe some fuel relief items to these residents. But The question is that enough? The residents are asking government to be proactive and do something about their situation before it gets worse.
Okay, it's just 11 past 6 now. I'm wondering how residents plan to pass the night.
Well, most of the residents will pass the night in community centers, mostly the open place. Some who are fortunate enough to have relatives and friends are going to spend the night there. And those who are not able to right now, we don't know how they are going to cope. They are actually frustrated because before we even left that particular method, it was almost raining before we left. And the state now, residents who are unable to get to families and friends, we don't know how they are going to survive.
And that's been the thoughts of many out here who are listening to the sound development. But how about local authorities? Are they equally concerned? What have they been saying?
Well, for now, we were not able to get anyone from NADMO. We couldn't get anyone from NADMO or any except the DC who met us on the way and said they were distributing food. According to him, hot kenke and rice and some few relief items to the residents. So for now, we've not been able to speak with the NADMO because we were not able to meet them. So for now, we don't know what the authorities are doing currently. But according to the DC, he said the VRA helped them with the food, or in collaboration with VRA, they were able to help them to get the food and some relief items to the residents. But for now, we don't know what the NADMO is planning to do as we speak.
Ivy Setoji, our Volta regional correspondent, bringing us up to speed with what's happening, in the situation as we speak within parts of the Volta region being affected by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. Carlos Kaloni has been on the beat for us, checking the very last point that Ivy Setoji was raising about the Volta River Authority and what they're doing to support some of the residents who've been affected. Just yesterday, Carlos, the VRA issued a statement indicating that they are still providing support to some of the communities that have been affected. You've been to some of these communities today. What's the situation?
All right, Blessed, we've been to some of the communities, specifically in the Etuyaman district. I'm talking about towns like Bong, at Timpoko area, and all the way to Akosombo. But those communities that are very close to the dam itself, the impact of the spillage is not heavily felt there. For instance, the Akosombo town, if you are in your home, you wouldn't even know something is happening out there. But places like Bong, you could feel the destruction there. So yes, those communities that are very close to the dam, some are feeling it, right, but some are also not really feeling it.
And in fact, you've been speaking with some of the VRA officials. What's the assessment of this situation?
All right, Blessed. So the Deputy CEO of the Volta River Authority, who is in charge of operations, Engineer Kenzo, he says that the authority is keenly monitoring the water levels at the Akosombo Dam. As they continue to do this spill work that they do. And the Volta River Authority, if you recall, started the spilling of the water around September 15, 2023. And currently, the inflow of water to the reservoir is pegged at some 400,000 cubic feet of water per second. And that will tell you the volume of water that is actually flowing into the reservoir. And the VRA...
At this emergency, level, we are making sure that we safeguard life and properties. That is the focus, right now. VRA has a monitoring team, that went to the Lower Volta even before we started the spill event, and they are still there. Together with other actors like the district assembly officials, NADMO, etc. They are monitoring the situation and then giving us a feedback of what is going wrong and how we have to react. The emergency preparedness plan as you have been briefed on, classifies the various phases and what we have to do. So at this stage of phase 2, we have established what we call the Emergency Operational Centers. That's the EOCs. And these are manned by NADMO officials. And they coordinate all the activities that are going on in the various communities and districts. So they give us feedback of all the, that is the impacted, or the heavily impacted areas, for us to also respond immediately to their needs.
And that's the assessment of the VRA on the spillage of the Akosombo Dam, and where some of the residents within the low-lying areas of this river forewarned. It's the reason for which I'm bringing in now Michael Niashale, who's joining us, because somewhere in June last year, the NATMO, together with the Volta River Authority, did a simulation exercise in anticipation for times like this, correct?
Yes, Blessed. Just a few clarifications. So this is this year, June of this year.
June
So just a few
of
months
this
ago.
year, yeah.
Yes. So at that particular simulation exercise, you have the VRA with an intention that in the event that we have to spill beyond normal, what do we do? So all low-lying communities or communities after the dam were supposed to be part of this. And some of the communities that we've seen in this. So you have the likes of district assemblies were all involved, all the security agencies, you have the police, navy, you have fire service even involved, and then you come to the various entities that have to come on, like NADMO themselves. So every community that lies or banks the Volta River was part of this exercise, and it was done all the way to the sea. So NADMO, together with VRA, piloted this, and at the end of that day, the conclusion was that it was a successful one, that we were ready for any disaster.
But then we know that the two organizations at the time were expected to expand this exercise to various communities, because this was just happening in one of the locations. Was that done?
Well, Blessed, to the best of my knowledge, this simulation exercise was held right from Akosombo, Atimpuku, to North Town, some of the communities that lie all the way to the sea. So they should have been prepared according to this preparedness plan.
Anyway, let's get more on that. Thankfully, we've been joined by the Deputy Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization, Seji Saji Ameduno, who's on with us for this. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Newsnight. The point about whether or not indeed you expanded the simulation exercise, and if you did, how come we're experiencing this magnitude of casualties?
Thank you very much, Blessed, and a good evening to your listeners. Rightly so, your reporter talked about the simulation exercise. The simulation exercise actually covered all the 9 districts downstream the Volta Dam. We had a physical activity in 3 of the districts, and in the 6 of the rest of the 6 districts had notional events. So what I mean by that is that in 3 of the districts we were physically present. All the members of the Disaster Management Committee, comprising of all security agencies, the district assembly, and NADMO staff, actually participated in this. Now, the purpose of this was to stand all agencies ready, especially in the districts and those living around the riverbanks for an event like this should it happen. At the time we were having the simulation exercise, never did we think that a situation will happen as in a short interval as this. But unfortunately, it has happened. VRA started spilling on their emergency phase 1 model. And for the phase 1, we don't really have any issues. It is phase 2. The challenge we had is the interval between increasing from phase 1 to phase 2. It was so sudden because of the inflows coming from the catchment areas into the dam. And in order to save the integrity of the dam, they had to spill at this rate. And that is where we were all taken by surprise. But what happened is that right from 2 weeks ago, almost every 2 days, VRA alerts all communities, because that is part of the emergency preparedness plan. There is a scheduled standard operating procedures, and that is disseminated right down to the assemblyman of every community.
And that was, in fact, part of the comprehensive simulation exercise you did.
Exactly.
And speaking about the simulation exercise itself, the expectation is for the worst. Would you say that you've reached that point, looking at what's happening now?
Well, in the emergency preparedness plan of the VRA, the worst is dam failure, and that we cannot comprehend at this moment. So we are still at the upper end of phase 2, and phase 2 is serious enough from the implications and what is manifesting.
The prayer is that we do not get there. Have you conducted a stress test or an integrity test of the dam itself? What report are you receiving on that as NADMO?
Well, that is for the technical team of VRA. Our job is to coordinate activities to respond to disasters like this, and our main concern is the humanitarian issues that come out of it. All the technical
is that an answer to my question, sir?
Will be handled by VRA.
Is that an answer to my question, sir? The question about the stress test, that should be a component of your simulation exercise, correct?
I didn't hear that.
I'm just saying that the stress test probably should be a component of your simulation exercise, isn't it?
Well, that was not part of the simulation exercise. The simulation exercise was a response simulation exercise and testing the communication of the EPP, getting people aware, moving to safer grounds and safe havens before the water gets there, but not to prevent the water from flowing.
And I'm sure that your exercise is not over because you have lots of work to do. What's the next line of action for NADMO?
Well, this is no more exercise. This is a real event now. We are having a lot of challenges across, especially in the 3 town areas where the water have taken over substantial part of those communities. And the situation is still unfolding. That is the difficult part of it. But those we have successfully put in safe havens, we are trying to address their needs at those safe havens and continuously moving people to those safe havens. What we are trying to guard against, that for property, we have lost so much property because houses are completely inundated. But for life, we are trying as much as possible not to lose a single life.
Okay, and that's your target. We wait to see what the outcome of the exercise will be. And that's the Deputy Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization, Saji Amedonu. We take you to the northern parts of the country this evening because patients at the Wa Municipal Hospital in the Upper West region say they are confused and helpless following the disconnection of power to the hospital by the Volta River Authority and NETCO. The hospital for several years has defaulted in payment of the electricity bills to the power company and owed them over 6 million Ghana cedis. The disconnection this afternoon has added to the woes of the patients. The worst affected areas are neonatal intensive care and also the maternity units where patients are battling for their lives as a result of the disconnection exercise. Join News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam now reports.
Prior to the disconnection of the power, senior managers of the VRA NERCO first notified the administrator of the hospital, Samson Abu, on their mission at the hospital, and the latter pleaded with them to give them more time to enable them to pay.
Yeah, that's what it's, yeah.
All of us will collapse.
Exactly.
We will collapse, we also collapse.
But yes. But we are saying that, pleading, not just saying, but we are pleading that at least you give us the benefit of the doubt. Monday is not too far. Yeah, and once our spending officer, who is the medical director, is indisposed, supposing if he were around, your presence here today would have solved a problem as well.
The hospital claims that the National Health Insurance Authority has owed them close to a year of unpaid claims, which is part of the reasons they are unable to pay the huge bills. The VRA NERCO did not heed to that and went on with the disconnection. Few minutes after that, the Municipal Director of Health Services, Alex Bapula, bumped into the scene and repeated same plea, but they wouldn't rescind their decision. It, however, did not take long before the effect of the power outage began to bite at the hospital. Patients got confused, stranded, and helpless.
My woman is delivered and the child is to be put in an incubator. And now there is light off. We are now confused. We just don't know what to do. So many people are crying. The light is affecting all the sick people in the hospital. So they have to do something.
So we went to the lab and the lights was off. So they told us that the VRA came and disconnected the lights. So right now we don't know what to do.
The hardest hit was the medical laboratory, maternity, and the neonatal intensive care units of the hospital. Okay, so currently at the maternity ward of the one municipal hospital, you can see that there is a patient who is currently lying here. We are told that it's an emergency.
She's a post-CS case, and we are treating infection and then malaria. Yes.
But I'm seeing that there's a little bit of light over there. What is it? Is it battery you are using?
Yes, the thing is rechargeable and it's charged. It can go low at any time. The battery is already red. You see that it's red. It's reading red. And the lights went on.
Worst among them is the neonatal intensive care unit, where 6 babies are on the incubators.
Unfortunately, these babies are the ones using the oxygen, 2 babies. So the concentrator, power is off, concentrator can work. So we are there.
So do you have any fears that you may lose a baby?
Of course. If we don't get medical oxygen, the hospital did not come. We have the fear that we can lose a baby because if the SPO2 is dropping now and there's no oxygen to give direct, so we will lose the baby. So if you are actually referring, how long will you be? The more organizing means to come and all those things. The time you may realize the baby is gone.
Adjacent to the NECU is the kangaroo unit where 2 babies are located.
We are joining these babies, so they are doing phototherapy. But unfortunately, because of the lights out, we can't use the phototherapy on the baby. So the babies are still like waiting till when the lights will be in so that we will continue with the phototherapy.
And that's the sad reality in the Upper West region with Rafiq Salam reporting there. But back here in the studios, we're equally moving on with some politics for you. Some immediate past district chief executives under the President Akufo-Addo government crying over severe hardship as they say delays in the payment of their salary differentials, which accumulated over the past 4-year period. They claim has not been paid to them. We'll definitely be getting you some updates on that story, plus getting you what more we have on that. But first, though, before we get to our next story, it's a good time to also talk to the one Municipal Director of Health Services, Alex Bakpula, who's joining us on the back of the story brought to you by Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam, knowing now that the hospital facility we're talking about here entirely has been in the dark owing to that 6 million Ghana cedis debt, and that's the one Municipal Hospital. Fortunately, the director is with us, Mr. Akik Bakpula. Thank you for joining us. Now, first off, how's the hospital coping now with the situation of, the power cuts to the facility? Mr. Bakpula? Mr. Bakpula, I hope you can hear me. We'll definitely be getting Mr. Bakula for you. Also joining us now is also the VRA NETCO engineer, Ben Mahama, who is in a position to perhaps respond to some of the concerns. 6 million Ghana cedis indebtedness is now costing quite a lot because we're potentially going to be losing some more persons or lives if nothing is done. Engineer Ben Mahama, you have any views on this as to how soon you'll be reconnecting this facility?
Yeah, thank you so much, Blessed, for having me, and good evening to your listeners. Yes, we took action to disconnect the hospital in the early hours of the afternoon, but subsequently, the management of the hospital came up with a proposal. In fact, they signed a document to us committing to paying some money, and we were able to take it up. In fact, we had engaged them a number of times. In fact, we had gone through phase 1 of our revenue mobilization exercise. After some months, we engaged them in the phase 2 of the same exercise. Now we're on the phase 3. All these engagements, despite all these engagements, the management were able to pay 10,000 cedis as of 16th May 2023. And so for the past 3-4 months, we haven't seen any payment or commitment from the hospital, despite the engagements we have taken them through.
I'm just wondering. Yeah, I'm just wondering what forms of engagements have been going on ever since you carried out this disconnection exercise.
Please say that again.
Just wondering if there are any further engagements happening either today or expected for tomorrow on the back of this power cuts.
Yes. Today we did a full engagement, and it was because of the response from the management. That's why we had to take off power from the facility. But when they came up with a proposal to commit to some payment, we were able to restore power to the hospital. So as we speak, the hospital has been connected to the grid and they're enjoying power.
And that's why we're all hopeful that there'll be fruitful deliberations on this matter, just to bring the hospital back to life in terms of power supply. Let's hear from the Wa Municipal Director of Health Services, Alex Bapula, who's joining us now. First, though, sir, how are you coping with this situation tonight? We know that you have some patients being admitted to this facility.
Thank you very much. My brother. I think for now, everything is okay. The hospital has come to normalcy. We are operating all the units and the department. So for now, we don't have any major challenge with regards to power.
Yeah. And just to clarify, is that to say that you've been restored?
Hello?
I'm just asking for clarity. Restoration of power, you mean?
Yes, in the afternoon we had a challenge with the VRA. We owe them some 600,000 Ghana cedis, and they came to our premise. And according to the regional manager, they are on their routine exercise to collect some debts. And then they visited the management and they decided to disconnect the facility. So after some back and forth, we had a very good discussion and the power was restored. And right from 3 till now, we don't have any major challenge. The hospital is in full operation, yes.
And that's great to hear. Thank you for just updating us on that story. Alex Bapula, who's the Wa Municipal Director of Health Services, just confirming to us now that the Wa Municipal Hospital in the Upper West region is now back on the grid after power cuts owing to NETCO indebtedness. You're listening to News Night on Joy 99.7 FM and affiliates across the country. We're just bringing you a story earlier about the appointees of the Akufo-Addo administration also reeling under the severe economic conditions of the country, because we're confirming now that some immediate past DCs under President Akufo-Addo's government are crying over severe hardship. They say delays in the payment of their salary differentials, which accumulated over the period of 4 years when they served under this government, is delaying. They say this is difficult and creating some severe conditions for them. The former MMDC is saying that numerous visits to the Chief of Staff have yielded no results at all. They're accusing her of disrespect, describing her actions as irritating, worrying, and disappointing. Joining us, Editor Fred Smith has been looking at the details of the concerns. Fred, do we know who some of these former MMDCs are?
Well, Blessed, let me first read excerpts of the statement verbatim to you. It says, Mr. President, we're worried about this state of affairs since we wrote a letter of request for payment of the salary differentials. We've been told to prove whether we deserve the claims we're making. The reluctance to pay us is severely putting our firm resolve to contribute our quota to win the 2024 elections in reverse gear. Your Excellency, we are now experiencing severe hardship with our families. It is difficult to survive as with nothing to live on. Mr. President, our numerous visits to the Honorable Chief of Staff have yielded no results. The inability to accord a modicum of respect to the former MMDCs of this government is very irritating, worrying and disappointing. Mr. President, we are now at a crossroads, confused, frustrated and disappointed. We know the positive correlation between frustration and aggression. We do not want to go on this tangent by applying this theory to ridicule our own government. As leaders of the coalition of the immediate past MMDCs, we are tirelessly soothing the temper of our members. The agitation to blow the issue is being contained. We do not want this issue to get out of hand with the delay. Your Excellency, we are humbly appealing to you for your timely intervention to sort us out. And they have presented this petition to the President, Blessed.
I see. Well, the details
one of them joins us now.
Indeed is unfolding, and it's a good time to be speaking to one of these former appointees, an MMDC, a former one for the Akachi area within the municipality within the Volta region. Joining us now is Leo Nelson Achidoga, who's speaking to us here on Newsnight. Mr. Achidoga, thank you for joining us. This is a rather unconventional means of asking for your salaries, or perhaps ex gratia, or gratia, I should say. Why are you now taking on the presidency, or perhaps the Chief of Staff describing her action as disrespect?
Good evening, my brother. And good evening to your cherished listeners. We are the immediate past MMDCs who work under the first term of His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo. What happened is that for the 4-year period we served, there has never been any salary adjustment. You know, the labor law stipulates that every year there should be salary adjustment. So what happened is that for the MMDCs and other government appointees, this is normally kept so that at the end of their tenure, they calculate that and pay them. So all other government appointees receive theirs in 2021, except the MMDCs. So we are now asking that they should make good this for us, so that we survive. That is what we are pursuing now.
Do you have any official accounts on why the delay, though? Because you say you've been writing, but have you tried what our source is telling you about possibly why the funds are delaying?
You know, we started this way back 2 years ago. And the delay, we can't just understand. Because these are the MMDCs who serve this government faithfully. So we believe these things should be paid. You don't need to labor for this. That is why we are so much concerned and pleading with the president.
Yeah, I see. And it's so interesting in your letter to the president, where I just want to quote excerpts of what you're telling us. Now, you say, Your Excellency, and obviously I believe you're referring to the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. You say, quote, we are now experiencing severe hardship with our families. What's the extent of effect of this delay in payments on your life, private affairs?
Well, the issue is that normally these are paid out to the appointees to sort themselves out. So when it delays, it imposes some hardship on us. That's what we are stressing.
I was just asking about the extent of the hardship that you're going through now, owing to that delay in payment.
Yeah, you know, more or less, this is our salary, which has not been paid in full. So this must be given to us to clear the salary which we ought to have been paid when we were in office.
I appreciate your time. It's obvious you're not willing to share the extent of hardship, but that's one of the former MCs for Akachi, Leonelson Ajidoga, who's writing together with his colleagues to President Akufo-Addo, asking for the release of their payment or salary differential. And we'll be keeping our eyes on this, bringing you some updates. But it's a good time to also look at what's happening to the economy as we talk business. Emma Davis is here.
Thanks, Blessed. In business, the Managing Director of International Monetary Fund pleads with the G20 Common Framework for debt treatments to expedite action on various debt requests to pave way for their restructuring.
When you want to eat, just Momo it. Tired of the long queues in the supermarket? Pay with Momo. When you really want that beautiful new blouse, just Momo it. When you want to get a trim and get fresh to impress you know who, just Momo it. When you need to pay your utility bills and domestic staff, Shani Momo. When you want to send love to the family back home, send some Momo. Join the millions of MTN Momo users all over Ghana and live life the brighter way. So just Momo it. MTN.
Hooray! The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us once again. From the 4th of September to the 31st of October 2023, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% to 15% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and so much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, Winneba, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stock lasts. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302 764 209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
No matter your water needs, Sintex has it all. Sintex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Sintex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Sintex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Sintex tank. Sintex tank, stress-free. Sintex tank, reliable. Sintex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit sintexgh.com. Sintex tank, strong, tough. Do you know Flamingo paint has superior properties than any other paint brand on the market? Listen, when you take one bucket of Flamingo paint, it's equal to several buckets of any paint brand on the market. So, Flamingo has superior hiding properties, superior coverage, it means it covers, and superior durability. Flamingo paint, superior hiding. Flamingo paint, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, superior durability. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Media Sambisanda Moa. It's your Ratiano, Mumu, Panet, Vietnam, Podompe, Mumana Yakono. Eh, Quabna. No, Mumu wants to be just Mali, Marina there. Eh, and the crow. Corporate Miri number don't be so you super excellent eba. I didn't buy the Braille. Who see it in a mobile, some man I want it. Sir, I need Nakujon, you super excellent Chaco. Nenny, dear, a mouse, when you're crying, fit of that. No, what you ask you, my mother feel you. Kojo, sir. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. A failure. You're gonna natural.
FDIJ Trading Katuyatu.
Time for business with me, Emma Davis. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business, Syntex Tank, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal, and Alliance Life. The managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, is pleading with the G20 Common Framework for debt treatments to expedite action on various debt requests to pave the way for their restructuring. The Common Framework brings together a very diverse group of creditors, the traditional creditors, the Paris Club, and the new creditors such as China and Saudi Arabia. They have a number of applications pending, including that of Ghana, whose second tranche of $600 million inflows from the IMF is contingent on that. Speaking at a press briefing on global policy agenda at the ongoing IMF World Bank spring meetings, Kristalina Georgieva begged the G20 Common Framework for debt treatments to support the work done so far by the fund.
The Common Framework is new, and it brings together a very diverse group of creditors. The traditional creditors, the Paris Club, but then new creditors, China, Saudi Arabia, India, Brazil, the Emirates, and a very diverse group of private creditors. We have seen in the past, it has taken quite a long time for the Paris Club to fully codify the way it functions. So my plea is pressure for speed and efficiency, but don't throw the towel on the Common Framework.
The Ministry of State Enterprises has emphasized its resolve to enforce state-owned enterprises to adhere to regulations and proper corporate governance principles to ensure profitability. According to the senior minister, Sector Minister, Joseph Kujo, part of the recent reduction in losses by SOEs as a result of enforcing sustainable accounting practices. He mentioned that subjecting the books of entities of institutions to Parliament and public has contributed to the reductions of inefficiencies. He has been speaking at the Public Enterprise League Table Awards organized by the State Interest and Governance Authority.
In the past, up to 2016, like I said, only in the space of over 100 enterprises, only 6 prepared audited accounts. Do you know what it means in terms of corruption? Some companies have not prepared accounts for almost 10 years. Do you know what it means in terms of corruption? Because you can only cite these issues when you know the books, and the books have been audited by an external party, and that's what the president is driving at. Open books, audited, so that Parliament can also peruse the books and ask questions, and that has never happened since independence. And that's why we see public enterprises just come around and then they collapse and then sold.
Joseph Kujo is the Minister for State Enterprises. The Ministry of Energy has reiterated its commitment to deepening the local content within the energy sector. According to the Deputy Director of Power at the Ministry, Abubakari Suleimana, various policies have been put in place to support local manufacturers. He spoke to Joy Business at the 2023 Ghana Power and Energy Expo.
We want companies to be able to manufacture them, with as much of the content, from Ghana. If we take the manufacturing of cables, for instance, we want as much as possible all these, cable raw materials, take aluminium conductors to come from Ghana. We want all the value addition to be from Ghana. So as much as possible, we want to improve Ghana content.
Abubakari Suleimana is the Deputy Director of Power at the Ministry of Energy. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, in partnership with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, will soon be implementing the solar panel irrigation system. Speaking at a press briefing ahead of this year's World Food Day, FAO representative in Ghana, Yerdi Yasmi, disclosed that the 3-year program is worth 10 million euros. The solar panel irrigation system is anticipated to revolutionize agricultural practices, offering a sustainable approach to tackle water scarcity issues.
One of the innovation that we want to introduce is the solar panel irrigation. We are going to test the feasibility of these technologies because the spirit of this is to move to green technology. So what we are going to do is to introduce simple, workable solution for small farmers to do the irrigation through solar panels. And why we want to do this? Because this is an untapped resources for Ghana, the solar. We are going to implement this project for 3 years. This is a sizable project. It's a 10 million euros project to be implemented in the 6 regions in northern Ghana.
You heard FAO representative in Ghana, Yerdi Yasmin. That's all for business news or Newsnight. My name is Emma Davis.
Let's do sports now. Razak Musbao is here. Razak.
Yeah, Blessed. Well, we're just about 8 minutes away from the start of the draw for next year's African Cup of Nations tournament. Remember that draw is happening in Abidjan, and music star Akon is the one who is going to handle that draw. Pretty much all African football superstars are at that draw. Didier Drogba is in there, Mikel Obi is in there, and name them. So that draw will be starting at 7 o'clock exactly, and the Black Stars of Ghana will get to know the teams that they were playing against in the group stage of that tournament. Well, the Black Stars themselves are in the United States of America preparing for their friendly against Mexico on Saturday. So we'll keep tabs on that.
Give me the question yesterday what my expectations are.
Yeah, I mean,
it's now your turn.
Well, I mean, if you look at, I think one thing that we is inevitable is that we are likely to face either of Senegal, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Cote d'Ivoire, or Algeria. So it's an interesting pairing that those are the teams that have been seeded, and the Black Stars are likely to face either of these teams in the group stage. So a lot of people have been giving prediction relative to which team we should, hopefully we could meet, but we wait to see what happens there. But earlier today in court, an Accra High Court today struck out the application for injunction filed by Ken Faisal against the Ghana Football Association in relation to the GFA elections roadmap. Counsel for Ken Faisal withdrew the application, and the judge therefore struck out the injunction application as withdrawn, and there was no order as to cost there. And of course, the GFA seems to be winning some court cases because the Human Rights Court also dismissed the case of Ashanti Gold against the Ghana Football Association, holding that the club was given a fair hearing by the judicial bodies of the association in the match manipulation matter. And in the judgment read to parties yesterday in court, the judge held that Ashanti Gold fully participated in both the investigation and the proceedings before the disciplinary committee, and were given a fair hearing and all opportunities to defend themselves. That's it for sports, brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Chaco.
And we're back to the game, Razak. Thanks for joining us with the latest in sports. Now, there have been growing concerns about political stability amidst the economic and political turmoil here in Ghana over the past 3 years. Sub-Saharan Africa has witnessed 7 successful coups d'etats, leading to heightened security apprehensions in neighboring nations. And in Ghana, citizens have been staging continuous demonstrations expressing their anger over the deteriorating economic conditions. However, speaking in a dialogue at the United States within the United States of America's Institute for Peace, President Akosombo indicated that there is the need for leaders to protect world peace. We'll hear from him shortly, but listen to NPP stalwart Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo calling on the government to focus on resolving the economic and political turmoil in the country to prevent any potential coup.
I have had a taste of a couple of coups d'etats as well. I was around during the brutal murder of 3 judges and the military officer, and I have personally been involved in a coup d'etat. Therefore, I am convinced that good governance, anti-ethnocentrism, honesty, probity and accountability, anti-corruption, and integrity of a political leadership, when demonstrated, can keep the soldiers in their barracks.
And that's Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu was speaking at a news conference where Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, retired, was present. We'll be speaking to him shortly, but the national chairperson of the NDC, Johnson Asido Nketia, has also expressed similar concerns and passing a damning verdict on the state of the country's democracy.
We have gone beyond that. The only thing that is saving us is the tolerance of Ghanaians.
You mean that Ghana is ripe for a coup d'etat?
I'm saying that it's more than ripe for a coup d'etat, but
And that's Asido Nketia, President Akufo-Addo, today responding to this concern, calling on all world leaders to commit to consolidating peace, warning recent African coups could destabilize the world's democracy.
In Ghana, political instability described much of the early decades of our independence, and we became notorious for sampling every and any type of political experiment. The instability was coupled with the collapse of the economy and led to the exodus from the country of many of our citizens and professionals. I'm happy to state, however, that for the past 30 years of the Fourth Republic, we have enjoyed political stability under a liberal democratic constitution and experienced the longest period of stable constitutional governance in our hitherto tumultuous history.
And that's President Akufo-Addo speaking in the U.S. Today. Brigadier Joseph Nunu Mensah, retired, former Chief of Defense Staff with the Ghana Armed Forces, is joining us now. And Brigadier General retired, I recall you holding a news conference with Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo asking the President to tackle the economic crisis, else we're imminent for a coup. He says that there's rather a need for all world leaders to commit to consolidating peace within Ghana and the rest of Africa. Your take on that?
It is true we had a meeting with the media yesterday, but I never called for a coup d'etat. I've never in my life been in politics. My view is that if you're a soldier, you want to do politics, you put a uniform down and do politics. But don't do uniform, wear uniform and then do politics. It's not my way of life. I don't support that. But, we call it a meeting because for the past 2 years or so, we've been trying to, initially with myself and another senior chief of defense staff, General Ato Essien, he's almost 90 years old. We've been concerned that, the way we are managing this country, we could end up in some kind of chaos if we don't take care. And then we look at our neighborhood, we have problems almost everywhere around us. Exception, and that it couldn't happen in Ghana. But when you look at our background from the beginning, since 1966, when we had the first coup, there have been so many of the coups and abortive coups and many of them. And to say that, Ghana is exceptional is not correct. So what we did, in fact, for the past 2.5 years, we have the view that we must talk to the president. That there were two people, myself and the Air Vice Marshal Ato Essien. And in private, not to make it public, but we never had a chance. We tried and tried and tried. Nobody would let us talk to you. But given our experience that if we didn't take care, you could have trouble. Because the Ghanaians are peaceful. Ghanaians are not peaceful.
And Brigadier General, apologies, but we seem to be having some challenges hearing you there. Appears the network is not too favorable to us. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Thank you for spending some time with us here on Newsnight, but we'll definitely reconnect with you and, of course, get a clearer perspective on this matter. But that's all we have for you in this package of Newsnight. We cannot go without talking about St. Thomas Aquinas, who have for the third consecutive time failed to secure their seat in the quarter-final stage of the National Science and Maths Quiz. Hard luck to St. Thomas Aquinas. It's the end of the road, but of course the 2023 National Science and Maths Quiz continues. I'm Blessed Sogah. We'll see you again Of course, you hear from us tomorrow as we bring you a news night. Until then, log on to myjoyonline.com for updates.